Paper Crafters Library. In this video I'm going to show you how to create this holiday love and laughter card. So I'm starting with a piece of pattern paper that I cut from the Bo Bunny Mistletoe Collection 6x6 pad. And as you can see, it's a stripe pattern here. Now I cut it to 2 1/8 of an inch wide by 5 1/4 inches high. So the first thing I want to do is to take some of my maraschino baker's twine and I want to wrap it around the bottom about 1.25 inches up from the bottom edge. So I'm just taping the back, the end to the back, and I'm going to wrap this around 3 times. And then I'm going to cut it and then take that end, wrap it around back, take another piece of Scotch tape or tape and then tape it down like so. Next I'm going to take my twine, leaving it on the roll, and I'm going to slide it underneath, and then I'm going to tie it in a bow around the twine that I wrapped around the pattern paper piece. And then once I've tied the bow, it's simply a matter of adjusting the size of the loops like so. There you can see what that looks like. So I'm now going to take this piece and I'm going to mount it to my card front. Now my card is a standard 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card. I cut it out of Papertrey Inks Stampers Select white cardstock. One of my favorite cardstocks for crafting because it's nice. It's a nice bright white and it's heavy. It's 110-pound weight cardstock, so your cards can stand up to a lot of embellishments on the front. So there you can see what that looks like. So we're now going to stamp our sentiment. So the stamp set I'm using is from Hero Arts and it's called the Cozy Moment Stamp Set, and I'm using the sentiment in the circle as well as the candy cane. So here I have a scrap piece of white cardstock and I'm going to take my sentiment, I've already mounted it to an acrylic block, and I'm going to stamp it at the center of my scrap cardstock piece. And once again, I'm using Papertrey Inks Stampers Select White. I'm then going to take a circle die from Spellbinders, and it's from their standard circles small, I believe. And I'm going to center this over my stamped image, and then I'm going to run this through my Big Shot. So here you can see what my sentiment circle looks like. And I've also gone ahead and cut a scalloped circle out of the Papertrey Classic Scalloped Circles Large. And I chose a scalloped circle that was just a little bit larger. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a Copic marker, YG13, and I'm simply going to color this green around the perimeter of my image. There you can see what that looks like, and I just did it very rough coloring. So I'm now going to center and stick this. Actually, I'll probably put a couple of these on. Center and stick this onto my scalloped circle. And I'm using 1/2 inch 3-dimensional foam squares that are 1/8 of an inch thick. So you can see I've stuck that on. And now I want to stick this onto my card. Now because the twine creates some dimension, I'm going to put a couple of Stampin' Dimensionals from Stampin' Up! On one side at the back of my label, the side that's going to be attached to the white cardstock. Now these ones are a little bit smaller than the ones you saw me use before, but they're also about 1/2 as thick. So these ones are only 1/16 of an inch thick. So I'm now going to take this label and I'm going to slightly overlap the twine, and I want the twine to be kind of centered on the label, and then I'm going to stick that down like so. So now we're going to work on our candy cane. So now I've gone ahead and stamped the candy cane from that same stamp set I used with that had my sentiment, Cozy Moments by Hero Arts, and I've stamped it onto Paper Tray Ink Stamper Select white cardstock using my Memento Tuxedo black ink. So I'm now going to color it in using my Copic markers. I'm going to use the three colors you see here, R22, R24, and R27. Now, if you've never colored with Copic markers before, in Paper Crafters Library we have lots of videos that take you through beginner to advanced Copic coloring techniques. So I'm not going to go through all the details of using Copics here because we're trying to keep this video to a short time frame. One thing I will mention though is that generally there's two main ways you see people color with Copics, and that's starting from the lightest color working to the darkest, and that's probably the most common way, and then working from the darkest to the lightest is the second way, and that's the way you'll see me use in this video. I just find for myself personally, I've tried both ways, but I tend to get better blending results and use less ink when I'm working from dark to light versus the more common light to dark. So I like to start by uncapping all of my markers. Just makes it quick and easy for me to switch between markers, and in the length of time it takes me to color my image, my markers don't dry out. So I'm going to color this image as though my light were coming from the right, which means that the lightest area is going to be along the outside of my candy cane, and then once we get to the inside here, it's going to be along the right edge of the candy cane, with the shadows going all along the left edge of the candy cane. So I'm starting with my R27, and I'm just using a feather stroke, and I'm just going to color a little bit there. I'm going to take my R24, I'm going to overlap that, color a little bit there, take my R22, and then I'm just going to go back with a little bit of my R24, not extending as far as I did before, and then blend that out with my R22 like so. For this bottom little square, because it's so tiny you can't really shade, I'm just going to color that in with my mid-tone color, which is R24. So now I'll show you one more stripe up here, which is this big wide one. So once again, I'm starting with R27. I'm moving to R24, just overlapping slightly, and then R22. Now I'm going to go back with R24. I'm going to start right at the far left edge, going over the R27 and extending not quite as far as I did with my R24. And now I'm going to come back with my lightest color and blend that edge out. So there you can see what that looks like. So that same technique that you saw me use working from my left to my right, my darks to my lights, I'm going to do that going all the way around the candy cane. So there you can see what my candy cane image looks like. So I'm now going to take my YG13 color, and I'm just going to color in a little bit of the white space, which doesn't show all that much, but you can just see a little bit of the faint green. So my next step is to cut out my candy cane, and I'm going to cut it out leaving virtually no border around my candy cane. So I want to try to get as close to my candy cane image as I can. So there you can see what my candy cane image looks like, and I'm now going to stick it onto my card using just a little bit of Tombow Mono Multi-Liquid Glue. So I'm going to put a tiny bit of my glue down here and a tiny little bit up here. And then just holding that in place until the glue has a chance to set. So there you can see what that looks like. So my last step now is to add some glitter, and I'm going to be using Martha Stewart Crafts Crystal Coarse Glitter. So I'm going to take some of my Ranger Glossy Accents, and I'm going to spread a little bit of Glossy Accents on some of the strips of my candy cane. And then I'm also going to put some around the perimeter of my stamped image. Or my stamped sentiment. Then I'm going to hold this over a coffee filter and sprinkle on my glitter. Then all the excess I'm funneling back on my coffee filter, which I can then use to funnel back into my container. So all that's left is to let our glue dry, and as you can see, our project is now finished.